And welcome back. Now, everything you see on my workbench here today is trying to solve a problem that I've inadvertently created for myself. Yes, indeed. Now, this is a keypad, that's a keypad. They're all keypads, right? Because I've recently upgraded my keyboard to what's known as a 10 keyless keyboard. So it's sort of a gaming keyboard, really. Not that I'm using it to play games, but what it basically hasn't got is the numeric pad on the right hand side. Let me show you what my keyboard now looks like in comparison to a standard keyboard, then you'll get the idea. So there's my keyboard, right? And it's nice and short compared to, say, the one I had previously, which is this one here. And look how much longer it is, because it's got the keypad over here, and it's always constantly in the way and get in the way of my mouse mat and things like that. So I thought, I don't need that. I can use a different sort of keypad. Let me show you that. I want to give a shout out to PCBWay, PCB prototype the easy way. Just enter the dimensions of your PCB, choose the number of PCBs you want and the layers, and hit the quote now button. Now, it's all very well for me to promote PCBWay, but look at these two boards. Now, these are two of many that PCB have made for me. This is quite a simple one, and this is a bit more complicated. In fact, this is an assembled PCBWay board. Let's look at these under the microscope to look at the quality of these products. So here I'm looking for the quality of the drill and pad placement, and as you can see here, it's totally 100% accurate. We have a track coming down the middle, there's the hole, and the pad around it, the soldered pad, is exactly where it should be. And this is replicated throughout the entire board. It's absolutely spot on. Now, this was a board I asked PCBWay to make for me because it was small, fiddly, and frankly the components on here were so tiny that I didn't know if I was going to be able to solder them or not. Look at that crystal Y1 down there. I mean, that is absolutely tiny. I'm not sure I could have soldered that, so it's just as well PCBWay did an absolutely outstanding job on here. Why don't you have a look at their website and try them out now? I can use a different sort of keypad. Let me show you that. So what I'm using is a wireless keypad, this one here in fact. They don't cost a huge amount of money, and it's what you expect. It's a keypad, isn't it? In fact, this one's got a few extras on it, like enter, plus, minus, backspace, the calculation, stuff like that, right? And that does the job of the missing keypad on my keyboard, except there's a big problem for me, and it might not affect everybody, but having asked a few people, I'm thinking, yeah, this could be a problem, and I've looked it up on the internet and stuff. Right, on the keyboard that I now have, that you just saw, I can no longer press the Alt key and then some numbers to get some special symbols up. You're not quite sure what I mean? Okay, let me show you what I mean on the well, when I reply to your comments, for example, on the internet, as you see here, that special symbol there, the micro symbol, for example. Yes. I know I could put a U in its place, but this is just a typical example, all right? I have to type on my keyboard 0230, Alt 0230. Except, of course, you can't do it on a standard keyboard. If I just press the Alt key down, so I'm pressing the Alt key now, and 0230, it's a bit of a, just trying to see past, 0230, and nothing, because it's not the numeric keypad that I'm pressing the numbers on. It's the numbers across the top of the keyboard, and it doesn't work. The Alt key needs the numeric keypad to work. So as well as the micro symbol, there's a symbol for ohms and degrees and various other symbols that I'm now sort of missing, all right? And I've just got used to using them over the years. Now, right at the back there, you can see this one here. This is a Stream Deck Mini, and if I go to the main menu and then say numpad, as you can see there, that's the symbol. The camera seems to be picking up some reflections, but that's the ohm symbol, that's the micro symbol, that's the right arrow, left arrow, and degree centigrade. So I could do it that way and have multiple banks of those symbols on here, but when I, for example, get a I don't know, a PayPal key code or something like that, something I have to type in to authenticate with my bank, it's a little bit more difficult as well, but I can use that in this case, so I don't need to use Alt. But I really do miss the Alt key. Now, some laptops have this trouble as well. They do not have a numlock key on the laptop. Now, if you have a laptop and you do have a numlock key, then you can use the Alt, and then the keys that are normally around this area, they have separate meanings, you know, 1, 2, 3 and 8 and all that. So it's around this area, and you can still use the Alt key on your laptop, but on the standard keyboard it doesn't work. And of course I noticed this about 10 minutes after having received my new keyboard. As marvellous as it is, it's a Corsair K53, in case you're interested. It's an absolute great keyboard, great. It's both wireless and plugged in USB, and if you unplug the cable, so you're no longer running on USB, it automatically switches to either wireless or Bluetooth, whichever's the last one you use. So I use the Bluetooth now to type stuff in on my phone really quickly, WhatsApp messages and stuff, and use the wireless to use it on my computer, which is what I'm doing now. As you can see here, there's no cable plugged in at the back, and therefore the wireless thing is kicked in, and that's how I'm communicating. Right, but enough of that. I need an Alt key. So, hence, yes, I'm sure you're many steps ahead of me. I thought, well, if I connect up one of these key membrane things, matrix, to my Leonardo, and it has to be some kind of module with a 32U4 processor on it, so not the 328P that we've come to know and love in the Arduino Uno. It must be one with a built-in USB capability. So an Arduino Leonardo or Pro Micro, that will do it as well, because that's a 32U4, and there's probably other names, that the Far Eastern manufacturers have made up. So this one here is a Pro Micro, and what I've just done is created a little tiny sketch just to prove the point, really, because I'm not convinced that what I've done is the way forward. If I press the star key, you'll see a light come up, and that means we're in Alt mode. Oh yes, and you get a beep as well, because without the beep, funnily enough, the tactile feel of this keyboard wasn't that great, so I was never quite sure if I'd pressed it enough. So now I can press 0, 2, 3, 0, and then this hash key turns the Alt off again, so that blue light should go off. There it is, and if we whiz back to the browser, there we are. I've typed in something entirely different. I don't know what keys I've pressed then. I've typed, what is that symbol? I don't know. Well, it should have been the micro symbol, and believe me, let me do it again while I'm on camera. Right, 0, 2, 3, 0. Oh, there we are. There's the micro symbol. Okay, so it does, well, I knew it worked. So that's all very well and good. It's a little bit clunky doing this. I could make it more intelligent to say, well, press that down and it stays in Alt mode until I've typed in 3 or 4 numbers or something, give me a sort of time delay. But it's not brilliant, because if you consider how many keys there are on here and how many on here, you can see there's quite a discrepancy, isn't there? Wiring this up, of course, to an Arduino, well, a true Arduino that you just want to use a keypad for in your project, is no trouble at all. And the whole point of doing this way, rather than using a key switch per pin, is that you save pins after a while. The first 3 or 4, I think it's about the same. So here we have a 4 by 3. Now normally that would take up 12 pins on here, wouldn't it? But what we actually do is we have 1 pin per row. So that's well, I suppose that's a column, looked at it this way. So we have 1 pin per column, so that's 3 pins for that, and then we have 4 more pins for the columns going across. All right, so that's only 7 pins that we have to dedicate to this. However, as you can see at the back here, or did see, I have here a bigger one, which I could use these keys over here, A, B, C, D, as sort of, enter, backspace, stuff like that. It's not ideal because it doesn't say enter, backspace. So I'd have to remember what they all meant. And then, of course, we're, it's a membrane keyboard, isn't it? It's all right. I mean, this is a self-adhesive thing. You take off this backing paper and it sticks like the proverbial to whatever you stick it to. I was thinking, once again, like a coaster, a plastic surface, a smooth, shiny surface, then it would stick. And it'd probably work very well. You'd have to somehow get this cable underneath like that so you couldn't see it poking out at the bottom here. But I reckon that would work. But, as I say, I'm not convinced that there are enough keys on here to actually replace this true keypad. I've also got the keypad, incidentally, like this. This has been hanging around for many a year. Basically, it's the same configuration as that. This would need 8 pins from your Uno or Leonardo. So 4 columns and 4 rows. But once again, it's just, yeah, these keys are much better. You know, these are proper, well, I don't know, they're not switches. They're not like my keyboard that you just saw. These are probably membrane keyboard switches as well. But they do have a positive action, and they work nicely. So I thought, that's still not really the answer. So what to do? Well, there's another solution that I was thinking of. I thought, well, if I buy one of these, this is a wired keypad, and it's of course got all the keys on there that I need. In fact, it's pretty much the same as that, isn't it? Pretty much. Oh, I've just pressed something. Never mind. So it's got tab and home and, you know, multiply and all the enter and all the rest of it. I'd have to use one of those keys, though, on the one on the right as an Alt key. So, you know, you're switching Alt on. And I suppose the mail key would be ideal for that, because I don't need that to get my mail. So I thought, okay, what's inside here? Is it a bit like this? Or is it a bit more like this? Because believe me, these are not proper, you know, cherry keyboard switches, that's for sure. So I think we need to take this apart, really. So let me unscrew it from the back and see what's inside. Okay, there was 5 screws holding this together, and like in a lot of these products, 4 of them were hidden in these little rubber feet. So I had to take off the little rubber foot in 4 places, and there was a 5th one in the middle. But they all seem to come out okay. So if we take the back off, and there we are, that comes off nice and clean, and you can see immediately there the standard sort of matrix type of keypad, where you have these sort of rubber things pushing down onto these contacts. As you push a key down, that one there for example, it connects this column with this row, and your processor can distinguish then that it's done that, and then you decide how to map it to a particular key. We'll come on to the code and all that in a little while. Let's see how else this is put together. There's not a lot of room in here, is there? Okay, that just holds things together, I guess. Oh yes, it's just a push fit. So there's the rubber keyboard. They're the keys inside. This is the keyboard then. Should have 2 layers on it. Yes, here we are, look. So you've got the rows and the columns on here as 2 separate things, and they just get pushed together. Okay, well that's all fairly standard, but what about this circuit board? The question I'm asking myself right now is, could I replicate this PCB in here, put a little 32U4 processor in the middle, so that I can then map my own keys to whatever's been pressed on here? Because I do need that Alt key. That Alt key is the key. The key. Yes, it's the key purpose of doing all this, isn't it? So I don't know, it's quite a small little PCB, but then again, you know, we've done smaller, so I think that might be an option. Yes, if I get a PCB of this size, and that comes out pretty easy, I don't want to destroy it just yet. A little tiny processor inside. It doesn't take a lot to create a 32U4 circuit, and it will run off the 5 volts coming in here and send out some signals back out. So the 32U4, when you plug it in to your computer, it automatically identifies itself as an HID, Human Interface Device, basically a keyboard. That's how Microsoft have done it on Windows. I'm guessing that on Macintoshes and similar Unix type computers, it probably does the same. You might have to do something, I don't know, but on Windows it just automatically play, and it says, yes, I've got a keyboard here, which is how, of course, I do my video switching unit, which you've seen many times. So as you press any of these keys on here, it sends down whatever I tell it to send down the wire. So we know it's possible because I've done it on that one. I think wasn't there another project I did with the keyboard recently? I can't remember. No, the brain's going to porridge, I tell you. It's all this lockdown. I mean, it's just going on and on and on and on. I'll tell you, at the beginning of lockdown, before lockdown even happened, so it's going back to sort of February, one day I said to my wife, I said, excuse me, darling, what's the time? She said, it's 3:30. I thought, okay, thanks. About a month into lockdown, I said, "What's the time, darling?" She says, "It's Tuesday." I said, "Oh, right." Yesterday, I said, "What's the time, darling?" She says, "It's June." I'll tell you, it's really getting to us, this lockdown, so I'm hoping they're going to release us all out into the wild sooner rather than later, believe me. Get my brain back into gear. So, yes, the code then, how we interpret what we're pressing on here and how we send stuff back down to the computer is sort of fairly straightforward. It's a given. I once did a video, I think, on the keyboard membrane, this one, but there's no harm in going over old ground because it's, you know, new people are out there, I know. And the computer says, okay, I've understood, I've recognized what's at the end of this piece of wire that you've plugged into a USB port, and it's a human interface device. Great. What value of key are you sending down? And by using the keyboard library from Arduino, you can say, I'm sending an H or a B, or indeed in this case an Alt key or a Control key, or both together. They're not really keys in their own right, they're modifier keys. So if you hold down the Alt and press an H, you're saying this is the modified key value that's being sent out. But we'll have a look at the code. It's really very simple to do, as you saw from this one. I mean, we can send the stuff down okay. Right, moving over to the code. Right, so here we have it. Ignore the first line because that's obviously just part of this sketch here that's automatically generated for me because I'm using the Eclipse IDE, but it doesn't matter. This works 100% in Arduino land. So we need to include two libraries. One's keypad.h and one's keyboard.h. And they just make life a whole lot easier. This commented one out was from a previous sketch that we were doing. I still can't remember what it is. Anyway, what we're saying is we've got 4 rows and 3 columns, which is right for this one here. Yeah, so we've got 3 columns vertical and 4 rows going across. Great. And this is how we're mapping them, right from the top to the bottom. Now there's a thing straight away. If we look at this keypad here, it's 1, 2, 3 across the top, 4, 5, 6 and so on. Yeah, you look at this keypad, you think, oh, hang on, that's totally different. It's 1, 2, 3 down the bottom, 4, 5, 6. And this is how all computer keyboards are, with the 1, 2, 3 down the bottom, not at the top like this. So if you look at this one here, the one that I've taken apart, you can see it's different. So we'd have to change that code immediately to say, no, that's different layout, reverse layout of that, and there are more keys as well, and there are 4 columns. But let's go on with the keypad matrix at the moment. So we've defined our little array of what the keyboard looks like. These are the pins to which we connect either the rows or columns. They're sort of arbitrary. In fact, they're not even in sequence. Look, 10, 16, 14, 15, because on the micro, and I just know this is all going to fall to bits. If you look at a micro, you'll see that the, oh, it just disconnected because I'm pulling on the wire. Never mind. Oh yes, sorry keyboard. The keys, the key numbers, the pin numbers are not in the right sequence on here. So obviously they're jumping about a bit. That's one of the, well, the vagaries of this particular Pro Micro. But it doesn't matter. I mean, as long as you get them in the right order, it will work. So if you press a 4 and you're getting a 7, you know you've just basically either done this bit here wrong or this bit here. Well, that's obvious, isn't it? But this is probably easy to make a mistake on. Ah, yes, keypad keys. Now, these are the numbers that I needed to generate the key codes that I want with the Alt key pressed down. Okay, so I'm not going to go through every single line on here because it would be blindingly obvious what you're doing. The library that we're using on Keypad, which is a great library, it really is. I'll put it all in the GitHub and the description down below where you can find it. Okay, because it just makes the coding a whole lot easier. We're making a map of the keys, and here are the rows, and here are the pins, rows and columns. That's it. I mean, that Leonardo has now got it in its brain how to map things around. So having done that, we simply set up a few things like the LED pin, so I know when I've pressed the Alt key and go blue. I probably won't keep that, but I will keep the beeper, I think. I think the beeper on that pad might be useful, not quite as loud as what it is at the moment, but I think it might be useful. And then we just say keyboard begin. So that does some initialization behind the scenes. Actually, on this one, I don't think it does anything at all. It's there for compatibility purposes only. But anyway, we'll skip over that. So what we're saying in the loop now is we're whizzing around, and as soon as we press a key, the keypad.getKey returns the value into this char of key. So if we've got something in there, we go, oh right, somebody's pressed something, we'll process it. If not, it just skips over all this entire bit of code and carries on round the loop. So having got a key, we're saying, well, if you've pressed a star, then do this. Basically me, it's saying put the LED blue high, and what we're doing is pressing the left Alt key. Whether it's the left or right doesn't make any difference in this case. And that's it. If we're pressing the star, it means turn off that LED because we're no longer in Alt key mode, and release all the keys we've put in so far. So what's happening is, as I press the star, we're saying, right, the left key has been pressed. And logically, it stays pressed. Even though I've let go on the keyboard itself, that matrix thing, the Alt key has now been pressed. And then we just get all the other keys and add them in. I think you can do up to 4 or 6 keys, I think the absolute maximum. I don't think there are any 6 key combinations in Windows. But anyway, you can press up to a certain number. And then we say, right, we've done all those. We're now going to release them all. So you get the combination as it's called a keyboard report if you're really interested. And it just sends the entire lot through with this modifier, as it's known, key left Alt included, so that Windows knows, aha, you've pressed the Alt key, this is a bit different. And the other thing to remember is that these keys here, these have all been defined as numeric keypad keys. They're not the standard 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These are the ones that Windows sees when you press a key on the keypad. All right, they're different. Believe it or not, you can go into Windows. If you know what you're doing in Windows, you can have a look at the registry, and you go, show me your keyboard mapping, and it will say the keyboard number 1 is there, and that key over there is numeric keypad 1. 2 different keys entirely. Okay, which is why it doesn't work when you press Alt and then the top row of numeric keys. It just says, well, that's not the combination that I know what to do with, and it doesn't do anything with them. And that's it, really. I mean, as a demo bit of code, this is fine. I'd have to write something a little bit more sophisticated if I go to ever coding something like this, and that is my intention. Now that I've seen what the PCB is like, and I think that PCB is more than large enough to create effectively one of these in here. It's not big enough to take that module as a whole, I don't think. But I can certainly create a custom one, exactly the same size with the same sort of fingers here to get the matrix on. Yeah, and the code would have to be slightly more sophisticated than what we're seeing there. So that's really where I'm going with this. You can experiment with these. These keypads, these are very cheap, probably a couple of quid. We'll have a look and see where I didn't get them because I already had them, but let's see how much they are on, say, Banggood. Okay. Right, here we are on Banggood. Just typed in keypad matrix at the top, and lo and behold, it's shown me the exact one, and it's a whole $1.51. Although, as we found out a video or two ago, shipping can be a little bit of an issue now because there is no free shipping. Well, let's double check that and see if what I'm saying is true. Ah, yes, shipping $2.07. It's actually more than the product itself. But then again, it's always worthwhile getting 2 of these, or one of these and one of the 4x4 matrices ones. I also saw next to that one, yes, this is the other one that I've had lying about. That's a lot more expensive, $4.28. But it does have a much nicer feel. And I'm thinking if you're making a project, with that on the front, as long as you can cut out a nice rectangular hole, that could be poking through the project case, and it'll be a good little thing to press. What else do they have here? It's probably only those, isn't it? Yeah. Oh, there's a different one. Yeah, so you can have a look at those. Oh, yes. Well, look, you can even get whole button loads. Although, I don't think that would look very nice, would it, as it is? And these are just switches, look. Yeah, so there we are. So they're cheap, aren't they? They're cheap. And just for mucking about with, I think that's probably good enough. But I don't think I want to use this in a permanent project for a keypad replacement, given that I'd effectively be giving up this wireless one, because I want to replicate this in its entirety. Yes, of course, this one will not be wireless. It's got a cable attached. Now you could say, why not just buy another wireless one, take out the gubbins, yes, that technical word again, the innards, and replace it. But I think I only want to type a few alt characters, you know, let's not get too carried away. Perhaps I'll have both. Perhaps I'll have this for sort of everyday normal use, and this one, assuming I can get it working and all the rest of it, tucked around the back just for my alt key stuff. We shall see. Anyway, what I'll do is put the code then, this code up in the GitHub so you can play about with that, but I think it's probably fairly standard. There's nothing special about it apart from the use of keypad.h, which does allow us easy translation of these numeric keypads, all right? So it's not like your standard keyboard. And as I say, you can use that on the Arduino type processors. You can't use it on an Arduino Uno or any other sort of non-USB processor if you expect the value to be sent back to Windows. If it's just purely for internal consumption by your Arduino project, that's fine. That's not an issue. You can use it on anyone. But the 32U4 processor, 80 mega 32U4 processor, sends the stuff back down the line as soon as you say that keypad.release all. Bang, off they go. Right, okay, I'm going to leave it there. Quite a short video, I hope. I say that every time and then it's far too long, isn't it? Any comments or indeed suggestions, or you know, about the this, you know, turning this into an alt keypad? Perhaps there's an easier and better way to do it. I've left this for so long now. It's probably been about 2 months. I keep thinking I must do it. But this, would you believe, has been sitting on my desk, and I keep using it because it's just, well, it's simple and it works and doesn't require me to build anything else. But I really have got to get my acting gear on this and build something nice. So comments down below would be useful. If you think this was generally interesting, just stick your thumbs up on the old video to let YouTube know that it was worthwhile. And I'll see you in the next video. I hope you're finding these videos useful and interesting. There are plenty more videos to choose, and a couple are shown below. And if you'd like to subscribe to this channel, just click on my picture below and enjoy the rest of the videos. Thanks for watching.